Hi everyone, welcome to the Cranky Poodle channel. This short video will be on stepped cores. So I'll start by showing you what a stepped core is. Here's an example here for a middle bleeder. So each core layer is slightly smaller than the last. That's essentially what a stepped core is. A stepped core is great for not having to sew through 4 layers or however many layers of core you're using at once. This way you're only ever sewing through 2 layers because you would sew the smallest piece to the next smallest piece by just going around the edge there. So you're sewing those 2 together. Then you would sew around the edge of this piece to the next largest piece. So you're only sewing there and there, 2 layers together. Then you would sew the next largest piece around the edge there to the largest piece. So like I say, you're only ever sewing through 2 layers at a time. Then you would sew the core to your pad, however you prefer to sew that in, or you might have a floating core. I'm not a huge fan of a floating core personally. I like to know that my coverage will be where I need it when I need it, but each to their own. So that's the most obvious way of layering a core. Even though it's layered, it is still a little bulky. Looking side on there, it's still 4 layers of core. A little trick to make it a little thinner is to set aside your second largest layer. Layer everything else as required, same thing, so the smallest piece, just around the outside of the smallest piece to that one, then sew that one to that one. You're still only sewing through 2 layers at a time. Then sew your second largest piece over the top. Now, if you've cut it correctly, you'll still only be sewing through the very outside of this layer to your largest layer. And once that's sewn on and it's nice and tight, it's flattened out those 4 layers. I don't know if it's quite so obvious on the video, but it's definitely flattened out those 4 layers. You haven't lost any absorbency. We've still only sewn through 2 layers at a time, but it's just kept it a little bit flatter, because that's one of the main complaints about using a stepped core, is that sometimes it feels a bit bulky. Another way around that bulky feeling is to just to step your core where you need it. If you're a front bleeder, just step it out the front, and same at the back. That also saves a lot of your core fabric. Most of my stepped cores are offcuts, so if I was cutting something and I've traced the pattern at the front here, this little bit is just an offcut from there, but it's made the perfect smallest layer. So you can save a lot of your fabric. It saves layering, say 4 layers of the one size large piece, and you can often work some offcuts in there. So it's short and sweet. 3 minutes my timer says. That's essentially what stepped cores are. I don't have any patterns for stepped cores because there's so many variations of what everyone likes and it's personal. But what I would do when you first start sewing is to keep any little offcuts of your cores just in a pile somewhere, and then when you want to start doing stepped cores, you can just go through all your little offcuts and work out what's best for you. Really handy if you know if you're a middle bleeder, front bleeder, back bleeder. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Then you can step the core where you need it. Alright, thanks for watching.